Welcome back to the Four Podmen, the wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe, and clothesline that bell notification button. If you want to contact us on the show, we're at TPodmen on Twitter, or you'll get us on Facebook, the Four Podmen. Also, you'll get audio versions of the show. Again, I would emphasize, I don't know why you don't want audio versions of the show with this tag team coming on all the time. But however, if you prefer it, Spotify is your place to be. Joining me tonight for a Crown Jewel preview, an interesting event that they put on once or twice a year. Doesn't always sit well with the fan base, but if you're wearing Nikes and Adidas, you've no reason to complain. But let's get into this. Joining me, Darren, how are we?
I'm all good, brother. How are you?
Good, not too bad at all. I said I'd preview this because this is a really, really good card, isn't it?
It's a stacked card, man. It's a much better card than we've been used to getting going to Crown Jewel, isn't it?
Yeah, this is proper like big four pay-per-view quality, really. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's let's kick it off. So it's Thursday. It kicks off. The main show is 11 a.m. Local time, 12 p.m. Yeah, but I think it works out. It's 5 p.m. I think Irish time for our viewers if they're checking it out. I think it kicks off at 5 p.m. Of course, coming from the Mohammed Abdu Arena on the Boulevard in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. For those who are making the trek over and might get lost,
we absolutely need to be there sometime, man, just so we can sit in them big couches.
I think we have more chance when we go to a Newcastle game, no?
When they take out the 4-6 rows to put two lots of couches in back to back.
I'm expecting Joe Linton with a run in on Thursday or something. Alan Shearer, our manager in the corner, one of them or something.
Quality.
Let's kick it off. Let's start with the top of the card. Obviously, the Universal Championship match: Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Proper main event, really. The build up to this has been absolutely outstanding. The real key in this main event is really there's answers still to be, or there's questions still to be answered in relation to Turnbuckle Gate that we don't know what's going to happen there. And there's a man who's not in the picture, one Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Who people still have to try and figure out what's going to happen in terms of him during this. What's your thoughts on this one?
Looking forward to it, if I'm honest, man. Should be really, really good, you know. I've liked some of the stuff the boys have done previously, you know. Obviously the heist where Rollins got involved was pretty good, you know. The boys were tearing up themselves anyway. But yeah, I think Heyman is where your answers lie here, isn't it? Yeah. You know, whichever side of the ball he hops on, that's where that title is going, isn't it?
Yeah, I was looking at the I think it was the contract sign. And Brock's just sitting back in the chair, doesn't give a shite. You know what I mean? And Reigns is standing up at the table, you know. And Brock is just sitting down with the feet up, and he knows he just get up and mill the whole lot. Like,
but they've added a little bit to the character now, you know, with the top knot and the check shirt and stuff, and the jeans and the boots, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's not that robotic anymore, you know, because he does have character, but for so long they just let Heyman do all the talking. Whereas now you're kind of letting the character come through a little bit, which is great. And then obviously, you know, he just sits there and he smiles, and Reigns is like, "You dumb hick," you know, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I read the contract this morning with Paul," you know, and you were like, "Whoa!" When you just see Reigns' face hit the floor, and you're like, "This is quality," you know. Shove your Luchasaurus up your arse. Take that, AEW.
The talk about this at the moment is this is going to kick off a series of matches, potentially running all the way to the Rumble. But I don't know. Do you think that's the way it's going to go? Because you've got the likes of Drew McIntyre and all coming over to the brand now from Friday, I think it is, isn't it? Right after the event, basically, isn't it?
Is it from Friday or next Monday? I'm not sure.
I think it's from Friday, isn't it? It kicks in from Friday right after.
It's the SmackDown roster is pretty poor, man.
It is actually Friday because it's Friday the 22nd is when the changes kick in. So it is Friday.
Okay. Yeah. The SmackDown roster is pretty poor, man. Now I know recently SmackDown's been the leading show, so to speak. So I don't know if they've reacted there and said, you know, we need to absolutely stack this Raw roster to try and make the red brand what it used to be, you know, because the SmackDown brand looks a little bit light in areas. I have to say, when I was looking through the list, I was like, Jesus, where's your big kind of baby faces? You know, there's not a whole lot of them there. You've got McIntyre, but like other than that, there's not a huge amount of it. If Lesnar's going to be your face, that's something, you know. But
Yeah,
you know,
it's something we touched on, didn't we? That like once Drew goes over there, then if Drew feuds with Reigns, then after that we mentioned on a previous podcast that you're looking at Shinsuke then and Jeff Hardy, is it, and stuff like that. Like it's
and you're talking intercontinental, you're talking intercontinental range, aren't you? Are you a United States Championships kind of thing? Yeah. But there's a real big drop off, you know. And again, I think the only reason they've done it, or could be, is that, you know, SmackDown was kind of looking after itself in the ratings and stuff like that, and Raw was really floundering. So they've stacked that Raw side. Now I know you've got the addition of free agents, but so far we haven't seen too many of them. I know you've got a couple of the NXT call-ups, haven't you? You've got Hit Row Records and stuff like that to come up. But again, are they going to be a heel faction? I would imagine they are to start with. Judging by the way they've been going on NXT. But, you know, they might have to change things up a little bit to try and keep SmackDown interesting, if I'm honest. Because at the minute, it looks like it could be a little bit boring, especially when you've got the likes of Brock, who doesn't necessarily do weekly TV, you know?
Yeah, true. What you thinking on this Reigns sort of thing?
Geez, I think it could go anyway, man. If I'm honest, I really think it could go anyway. I think it'll be all down to Heyman. You know, WWE like to give us something maybe that we don't expect. So what could you not expect on Friday night? Could you expect Brock to come in and absolutely squash him in like 2 or 3 minutes? Would you expect that? You wouldn't expect that, would you?
No.
So that's why I think it's on the table. You know, because they're going to give you that swerve. Do I think it'll happen legitimately? Probably not. I don't think they've built Reigns to be what he is to allow Brock to squash him like that, unless there was something happened or something went wrong, or there was, you know, something somewhere, maybe the Usos or Heyman got involved. But I think the plan is, wasn't it, that it was supposed to be Rock and Reigns in SummerSlam, but now they're dragging it to Mania now by the looks of it, because Rock is filming, isn't he? And he can't get a break in the film until early next year. So, you know,
it might tie in with the next match we're going to look at. At the moment, I'm kind of leaning more towards Reigns retaining. But it could be a curveball here, as you said, where if you look at the WWE Championship, Big E versus Drew McIntyre. Now, on the face of it, you would turn around and say, well, this is Big E to retain because Drew's going to SmackDown.
Yeah.
So, is there a case where Lesnar beats Reigns and takes the belt to Raw, and Drew beats Big E and takes the belt to SmackDown and goes into that feud with Reigns? It's a massive switch, isn't it? But it's a massive
switch, because has Lesnar not signed as a free agent to SmackDown?
I wasn't aware that he had signed. Maybe he has. Has he signed as a?
I know he said he was a free agent. Now I'm not 100% sure whether he'd signed or not, but the inkling was, or the feeling you were being given was that he'd signed with SmackDown, and it was kind of down to Heyman and stuff like that as a free agent, you know. But it would, you know, switching the belt like that would give that kind of fluidity to move, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it would also do, it would refresh the situation in the two main events, because what happens is potentially then, and we'll get into Balor later in the show, obviously, but does it give an opportunity then for Balor to go back into that feud with Lesnar that was really exciting originally? If Lesnar takes the belt to Raw, and then does it revitalize Drew as well? Because Drew was kind of being out in the wind a little bit from that big year that he had without fans. There's distrust him back in there now in front of fans. And now you have Reigns, who's lost his belt. Imagine he's cheated out of it by Heyman. Heyman heads off to Raw with Brock. Maybe takes a beat down from Reigns and the Usos on the way as a way out. And then you get that you get the bloodline again chasing the belt again off Drew, which could be interesting.
I think the most important thing is that when it's not nailed on, you know, and so often you go into these pay-per-views and everybody knows what's going to happen or occur or this or that, and you're just thinking, I don't like that situation. I like when there's 2 or 3 things up in the air, and you know, you're thinking, this could happen, he could get involved, he could come back. You know, there's options here. There really is options, you know.
I really like for us, it's 5 o'clock in the day as well. So we're not up half the night watching it, so it's kind of cool.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, 100%.
What you're thinking then on the Drew match? I mean, I suppose Big E has to retain, doesn't he, really? Because, I mean, if he was to lose the belt, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a thing to recover from that for him, isn't it, really? Because his run with the belt so far has been kind of irrelevant, really, let's say, for lack of a better word, hasn't it?
I think just because of the timing of it with the draft and stuff like that and the way it's panned out, he is looking a little bit irrelevant at the minute.
Yeah. But I think even the company's approach to him as being the WWE champion has been kind of lackluster, really, hasn't it, as a WWE champion?
Yeah, and as much as I don't like saying it, don't forget what month it is. You know, it's Black History Month, and all of a sudden we've got a black champion. You know, and I'm not saying that's why it was done, but there are these things that happen, and you know, a guy ends.
I think his road to the belt has been decent, and I think when they put the belt on him, I think the timing was good. But I think since he's got the belt, I mean, he's still being encapsulated with the New Day, which kind of devalues it a little bit in terms of bringing it down, I think.
Yeah.
And I think even their treatment of him in terms of the company, in terms of him coming out as the WWE champion, we mentioned it a while ago, where he was coming out in his entrance and they were cutting to the draft halfway through his entrance. And I had mentioned to you, this is the WWE champion. Why did you treat him that way? It should be a big deal.
It should be, but I mean, they get this wrong with so many champions. Like, we shouldn't like, look at what they did to Belair. You know, the way they had her squashed by Becky and stuff like that. Like, they don't necessarily make great decisions around their champions and around how they're carried, and you know, they don't. The storylines with them have been poor over recent years. And I feel like sometimes it's like pin the championship on somebody, you know, just to push it around again and sell another set of merch and then appease this part of the fan base and stuff. Whereas you're not actually necessarily getting the guys that, you know, deserve a title run. You know, like how we haven't seen a belt on Cesaro, we'll never know. Do you know what I mean? Like the guy is legitimate. And he should have had, you know, a runner at the championship before Big E for me. You know, he really, really should. The guy's got everything. They put him out there as this sweet Superman, and he was able to do this and he was able to do that. And he was swinging, bleeding, you know, joints around the ring. And he just thought, here we go, you know, give him a run. And then again, they pull the plug and they're thinking, Jesus, lads.
I suppose the reaction to him isn't always at the level that you want. I mean, there's no doubt in the guy's talent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when he comes out at times, some of the stuff that he does, you know, for lack of a better word, it's a bit bland, isn't it? It's a bit kind of like it's a bit like kind of a niche on old school, really, isn't it? And
I don't know whether it's bland or I don't know whether they don't do a good enough job of selling it for him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if they put a bit more effort into him, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Do you not find swinging a guy around the ring is a bit hokey?
Is it? I'm not. I think it's all right. It's a show of strength. Do you know what I mean? It's just, this is what I can do, and you know, and stuff like that.
But we know it's a partnership.
Of course. But I mean, there's so many moves you can look at like that, you know. Like every time someone goes up for a suplex, you know, we don't think, oh well, the other guy's pushing himself up there and he's, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff like that you could look at if you wanted to break it down in that sense. But I do think they just, like, they put so much effort into certain people to ram them down our throat. And you just think if they did put half that effort into certain guys, they could have made legitimate superstars out of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Ziggler would be the prime example, I'd imagine.
Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
But you reckon Big E retains?
Yeah, I think Big E retains. I think he has to.
I think if he didn't, it'd be a heck of a job to try and recover it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but you know, there could be something hokey in there as well. Could be Rude and Ziggler or something like that. And, you know, come out and take the two of the boys out, and so Drew saves it with a face going to SmackDown, and Big E keeps the championship, and they just go their separate ways like that.
Yeah,
that wouldn't shock me either. you know.
One that we're really looking forward to: SmackDown Women's Championship triple threat.
Yeah, should be very good, man. Should be really, really good. You know, all super athletes, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You know, they've really taken the women's wrestling to a new level completely, haven't they? Yeah. With girls like this, you know, and obviously Charlotte and stuff like that as well. And but yeah, this'll be tops, I have to say. We spoke about it earlier on off air, didn't we? Yeah. And you know, I kind of think Becky's gonna retain. I think she'll just do enough to retain, but I think she'll beat Belair, you know. She won't beat Sasha. Sasha won't be involved in the finish because it protects her that little bit, you know.
I think Sasha's gonna win this because I think it isn't like it's the SmackDown Women's Championship. Isn't Becky off to Raw?
She is, but you know, I wouldn't let that kind of spoil it because I think she spoke already about, you know, becoming Becky 2 belts again, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think the boss wins this, and then she's the standout star then on SmackDown. You know what I mean? She's the one, and then there's so many.
And again, looking at the roster, they need a standout star. They, you know, the same as they do in that men's division. If it's Roman or if it's Drew and then Sasha, you know, at least you've got a couple of people there, and but building up to believable challengers is the issue I'd have going forward on SmackDown. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know Belair. Listen, she'll do a great job on the night, won't she? But I think personally that Becky wins this, and she heads over to Raw, and we get round 27 of Charlotte and Becky for the 2 belts, you know.
Be interesting, unless they're going to try and do an undisputed or something like that.
Maybe, although I think both brands need a belt, don't they?
But they're talking about an undisputed, isn't there? Whispers of an undisputed at the men's level as well.
I didn't. Is that the talk? Yeah.
Yeah, the talk is they might go with an undisputed and bring back maybe a world heavyweight or something like that. That's the talk apparently that was going around. But be interesting to see if they went down that road with it. But yeah, I think this could potentially be the show stealer. This triple threat.
Yeah. Well, anytime you've got Sasha in a match, it can be a showstopper and a show stealer. You know what I mean? She's absolutely tops. Really, really is. And we're not even talking about, you know, Becky or Bayley, who hasn't been on the scene. Do you know? Is there some, because she was involved obviously in quite a bit of it with Bianca, and then obviously there was herself and Bayley, and then she's got a history with Becky as well. So I don't know, would we see a little cameo from our friend Bayley?
Should be interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's just so many levels to it at the moment in the women's division, so it's really exciting at the moment.
Yeah.
This one is a kind of a weird one, isn't it? No holds barred match: Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. This to me is just Goldberg getting revenge for the son, isn't it? And the no holds barred just covers up any inefficiencies there would be in the match.
I think they've got to put something on it to try and, because it can't be a wrestling match. You know, it's got to be some sort of a beatdown or something quick or something like that. You know, like I imagine he's going to crack him with a chair or he's going to hit him with something, and all of a sudden it's, you know, it's good night, Lashley. But this is Goldberg going over for me. Give Lashley the beating he deserves, obviously, after having the hands on the unflit and stuff like that, isn't it? And they have to put that kind of a tagline on it, because Goldberg just got so poor in the ring. You know, it wasn't long ago he was over here with the Undertaker at Crown Jewel, and we almost seen a guy with a broken neck. You know, it was so poor. And on a couple of occasions in that match, he really let the pace of it get to him, and his timing was dreadful. And thankfully Tiger was able to get over alive at one stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what they probably learned from that. That's why this one's a no holds barred. You know what I mean? That's why.
And listen, if that's what you have to get to make sure 2 guys walk out of a ring, they can sell it and they can do a good enough job of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a technical wrestling match between 2 older guys, 2 greats like that. You can have all the smoke and mirrors you want, because, you know, it doesn't matter when it comes to nostalgia. We all remember the Goldberg streak. We all remember the Undertaker streak. It didn't need to be an absolute classic for people to get something out of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk Raw Tag Team Championship. RK Bro as the champions going against AJ Styles and Omos.
Yeah. I heard it was big talk of them splitting AJ and Omos actually. And apparently there was a couple of senior figures in the Raw locker room said, listen, the kid's not ready to go on his own just yet, but give him another little bit of time with AJ and he's getting there. Again, like, the guy is huge.
Yeah.
And we've said it before, I think he's evolving greatly, I have to say. I think the character's evolving a little bit. I think obviously you've got his size and his strength and his power, which is a standout. Like, I mean, eventually this is gonna be that Diesel Shawn Michaels heel turn, isn't it? Or face turn. You
can imagine AJ Styles behind those lads in the locker room going,
yeah. Cut it off now. Let me back into a picture.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this is gonna be our, you know, when they lose this, or when they lose the next round of this, and AJ's like, you know, you're a big dumb idiot and blah de blah, and Almost is just gonna pick him up and absolutely bury him. And you know, and we'll get a little bit of that for a couple of weeks of an Almost and an AJ Styles, maybe, where they split, and then we'll get some sort of a mid card from Almost, and AJ will end up back in a title picture, maybe with Balor.
Be
Awesome. You know?
Yeah. This one, what do you reckon? Just a simple rematch, no title change?
Yeah, I think it's gonna go that way. I think the RK Bro will hang on to it, man. Yeah, absolutely.
There was talk of a swerve there as well, that Orton was getting ready to do the dirty deed as well. Like,
they hinted at it, didn't they? And they kind of showed you that was a possibility. But I think it's going well for them. And I think, listen, what do WWE love? Merch sellers. And the stuff is shifting. At the minute, they're top 5 in the merchandise, RK Bro. So people are buying it and people are walking around in it, you know. And Vince will be happy with that. He'll be delighted to keep things as they are until maybe they get maybe there's an injury or something somewhere along the roster, and they need to jig things about a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, and Orton being such a great company man as well, and such a consummate professional as well. He's happy to go along. He's cool.
Listen, the man's making money. Yeah. He doesn't give a fiddler's. Yeah. You know, I think he's got to a stage in his life where he said it himself recently, he's never been as happy and as comfortable in the situation, you know, at home and stuff like that, and in life in general. So this is easy money for him. He's rolling in there with a young guy. He's having a bit of fun. He's carrying the tag belts. Life is good at the minute for Randy.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on. Another big match in it. This is like a WrestleMania match, Hell in a Cell. Edge versus Seth Rollins. This is going to be awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, this is going to be unbelievable, man. If you look at what they did at SummerSlam, you know, it was, I kind of thought, wow, this is tops, you know. And I'm delighted that they're still pouring a bit into it. You know, we said it obviously earlier, again off air. It was just, I'm delighted that they didn't just end it there, and that Rollins came back and had another bite, and then we got to see the stuff at home in the house, and you know, the stuff that we'd seen before at home, the stuff that we'd seen before, you know, with Pillman and Austin and stuff like that years ago. And you were thinking, I seen this and I was like, you know what? It's been so long since we've seen something like this. This is quality.
Orton and Triple H.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Really, really good. Really, really good. If it's not match of the night, I'll eat me bleeding hat. I have to be honest with you. I know we talked about the girls, you know, from a wrestling point of view, but I mean, just as a spectacle, this could be really, really good. This
is the match that ends the feud, though, isn't it?
It has to. Well, I mean, Rollins is on his way to Raw, isn't he? Edge is going to Raw as well, actually, isn't
he? They're both staying there, aren't they?
They're both on SmackDown.
Yeah, they're both going to Raw as far as I know.
Yeah, they're both switching brands, but they're both. Yeah. This will be the separation, won't it? You know, and rightly so. They'll end on something. We'll hopefully get to see Edge get his hand raised. But this could be like, don't be surprised if this is 25-30 minutes. You know, I think this could be, you know, there's obviously you've got the headline acts, but this will be the one that kind of buffs the card out and really puts, you know, minutes on the clock, because they've got a slot to fill there. Is it a 2.5 hour or a 3 hour show? So
at least.
Do you know what I mean? So they've got to make sure that they can take this over. And I think, because some of the matches are going to be short, we know that, you know, whereas I think this will be the longest match of the night, if I'm right, you know.
The thing about this, with the quality of the two boys in there, plus the add-on of the Hell in a Cell, like these boys could go a half an hour and we ain't going to get bored.
Easy money. Absolutely easy money, yeah, 100%.
King of the Ring tournament finals, Finn Balor versus Xavier Woods. We had an in-depth conversation about this today.
We did, didn't we? This is just a strange. The two tournaments have been really strange for me, I have to say.
I remember talking to you about 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about this King of the Ring tournament. And I said to you that I heard whispers that Xavier Woods could be in the picture for this. And I remember I nearly had to pick you up off the floor. You couldn't believe it.
It's such a big sell, isn't it? Like I listen, again, we talked about it before. I love not knowing, but it also has to be believable. And I don't think at the start of the tournament, you looked at the brackets and went, Woods is in the final. Do you know what I mean? Now, yeah, listen, we all love an underdog story, and that's all great and happy days and all, but is it believable for him to go over again? He couldn't go over against Balor. He just couldn't. Like, WWE have just absolutely screwed Balor in every way possible. They couldn't have him lose to Xavier Woods in the King of the Ring final. Like, I don't believe it's possible, man.
In Riyadh.
You know what I mean? Like, it couldn't happen.
They'd be testing this man's resolve, wouldn't they?
They really would. Yeah. No, this is Balor. This is when the prince becomes the king.
I would think so.
And because I think we'll see t-shirts, and he'll have the date, and on the back it'll say when the prince became the king. The whatever it is, the 21st of October and stuff like that. That has to be. And it segues into the him feuding for the belt, maybe then. Maybe that's why they're putting Woods in the final, because isn't it his New Day kind of brethren that's holding the belt at the minute? And you look and I beat your buddy, and maybe then Kofi comes out and says, well, you got to beat me if you want to get the big E, and then of course he butchers Kofi, and then we end up with Balor and Big E for the belt.
Yeah, it could be an interesting one. Or Big E comes out and costs Balor the match, and Xavier becomes the king. And
then Balor just decides to take his title. Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, be interesting, all right. Yeah,
yeah, and I hadn't thought of it until literally right now, but it does lend itself to something for us,
Yeah, and I often find when you're talking about the three guys, when they are going into individual feuds, they tend to they did it with Lashley as well, where he went through the whole New Day to get to the final point and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be unusual for the laziness of creative writing, let's say, to the repeatability of the same format,
Absolutely.
Queen's Crown tournament final, Zelina Vega versus Doudrop.
I feel like I don't even want to waste my breath on this, man. This is just so poor. Obviously the quarters and the semis, and I think, did I read there's been under 20 minutes of wrestling between the 6 matches that have gone on so far?
It's been quite a quick roll to the final.
That is absolutely shocking. Shocking. When you look at some of the guys that were in it, or some of the ladies that were in it, let's say, there was enough there to put some decent matches out there and elevate a couple of stars. You can lose matches really well and still get stuff out of it, but they just didn't do it. And I'm absolutely shocked that, I can't believe they didn't decide to make Shayna Baszler the queen, the Queen's champion. It was set up for her. She should have been the only one allowed to go through matches in 2 to 3 minutes. A quarter final, a semi-final, and a final. And she should have just absolutely bulldozed everything in front of her. And again, you've another ready-made star there. I know, she's not the best talker in the world, but she's legitimate and she sells being a badass. You know what I mean? I believe it when she gets in there and she's throwing people around and she's putting on camel clutches and stuff like that. Whereas I don't really believe it when it's Zelina Vega, or certainly, Doudrop. Like, Jesus Christ, this is...
I suppose the problem for Shayna is Shayna probably needs to be working up towards the Beckys and the Biancas and the Rheas and the
Yeah.
Charlottes of this world, not
Mhm.
going down towards the Dewdrops and the Selena Vegas and the Carmelas,
And that's where the opportunity was to push her and you know, and get her into that upper echelons of the stars and get her to feud with those guys. You know, we'd love to see her and Rhea Ripley have a feud. They would absolutely demolish each other. It'd be great watch. You know, really, really would. But now instead we get Dewdrop and Zelina Vega. I don't know whether, you know, obviously Vega coming back in, maybe this was the promise on the table that, listen, we're going to hold a Queen's Crown tournament and you're going to win it. You know, was that a selling point? Might have been. Because, you know, up till now, it's been very average for her, hasn't it? I think she picked up her first win on Smackdown, was in the first round of the championship, wasn't it? Or in the first round of the tournament. You were thinking her first win. And now all of a sudden it looks like she's gone from 1 win to 3 and she'll win the whole thing.
I think once they bring you back in, they always try and test you, don't they? Yeah, they try
and piss you just a little bit more to just see how much they can really twist you, you know. Do they give this to Dewdrop? I'd find that hard to believe, but could she also be a legitimate contender? Yes. You know, there's obviously massive changes need to happen to the character. But I mean, from a physical point of view, it's believable.
Yeah, she's a big girl and she knows how to wrestle. There's no doubt about it. But
yeah,
I think that kind of comical, kind of gimmicky kind of thing, I think they already have it there with Nikki ASH. And I think there's a kind of a, you know what I mean? Is there enough room for two of them?
Yeah, and I suppose maybe that's where this crown will come into things, you know, and maybe we'll see a Queen Dewdrop the way we see in a King Booker type thing. Do you know what I mean? And where it's sold like that, that kind of heelish, not like cocky heel, but like almost, you know, I suppose comedy-ish heel. You know what I mean? Because like King Booker was great.
Yeah.
Really, really good. You know, and if they sold it like that, it might work. But other than that, like, it's got to be Vega, hasn't it?
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Selena. Can't think of anything else. So the most anticipated match on the card then for you. Next is Mansoor versus Mustafa Ali.
If you just think how bad that Queen's Crown tournament has been, it couldn't be as bad as what we're seeing that now. That'll just be an absolute shit show, you know. It really will. Like, you know, we're being bankrolled by the Crown Prince, so we're gonna put his mate in one of the matches and let him fucking go over and make shite of Mustafa Ali again. You know, like the kid looked like he was on his way somewhere a couple of years ago. He got that injury and I think it landed in Kofi's lap, didn't it?
Yeah.
But like since then, they really haven't done him any favors. Like the retribution stuff was absolutely poisonous. You know, it really, really was. I see then recently they split the two boys as well, Mace and T-Bar, and you're going, Jesus, lads, they were bad enough as a double act, but what are you going to be like on their own? You know, I think one of the boys beat Mace in the semi-final, didn't he? Was it Woods or was it Balor? Yeah, one of them boys. Yeah, I think this is going to be a damn squib, isn't it? This is Mansoor going over. He'll probably take a little bit of a beating and win with a roll up or something.
Yeah, and you're kind of looking at it and the way it's being put in there as well. It's not going to be. It's probably not going to be a kickoff match either, is it?
No, I'd say you're probably talking middle of the card, like.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say yeah. It's a strange one, man.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I know there's a couple in there that are a little bit sort of like, but solid card generally from top to mid bottom.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3, but like on every pay-per-view, regardless of whether it's WWE, New Japan, AEW, there's always a couple of matches and you just think, how did that make them a pay-per-view? You know? Now, like, of course, the little AEW fanboys and marks won't tell you that. They'll be like, no, every match is a brilliant match. Sorry, lads, it's not. You need to start watching stuff with your eyes open. You know.
I suppose the problem for WWE is they do still have a number of roster members who don't want to take part in this show for different reasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, so I read obviously last week about Sammy, and he's of Syrian origin, isn't he? And he's pretty fearful for his life, actually, I think, going in there in case somebody decides to not let him fucking out. So that's a legit. Who else have we got on the list?
So Sami Zayn is pretty fearful for his life most of the times anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty much his character, isn't it?
Who else have we got on the list of no-goers?
Kevin isn't going over, isn't he?
Right. Now, is he not going because they're pissing all over him again? Or has he decided I'm not going for ethical reasons?
I think with him last time, I think it was ethical reasons, wasn't it, as well? I think he didn't feel comfortable going over, because I think if it was just that you were getting piddled on, I think I'd rather be piddled on earning more money than being piddled on earning less money.
Yeah, but that's only if they're going to use you, like, like he might be saying, you know what, lads, if you want me to trek all the way to Blade in Saudi Arabia, I at least want to be on the card and have some sort of a decent match, like,
If the money's better and the catering is just as nice, what's the problem?
Yeah, but see, I think and that's the type of thing that WWE need to get away from. You
can never get away from that. They're so stacked with talent, and they're so condensed and creative that you're never going to get away from that. There's so many guys at this stage just hanging out at catering, picking up a check, and through no fault of their own.
Absolutely not through any fault of their own. Like, you look at catering and you look at creative, you look at creative and you just think at times, we've spoken about it before, I don't believe they need half of the guys they have in creative, and I think, they need to look in another direction, because it's gotten so poor recently, hasn't it? And we've spoken about it at length. Like, it's gotten so poor. And again, it kills me to say it, because as you can tell, I'm not an AEW fan. Screw you, Luchasaurus. That they've done so creatively. They're really a step ahead at the minute, aren't they?
Although I would say on a number of these bigger cards and pay-per-views and stuff like that, they have potentially left us puzzled in terms of what may or may not happen. Which from that point of view, I think is a good thing.
This is what we've asked for, you see. And we've said this before. We don't want to be looking at big matches and going, oh yeah, he goes over, she goes over, you know what I mean? You don't want that. So yeah, certainly that's what we want with cards. We want to go in and we don't want to know necessarily who's going to leave with the belt. That's where the excitement comes for wrestling fans, But yeah, I just think some of the stuff has been a little bit questionable recently. But I know they're looking in different directions now, obviously, and because competition can really, really do wonderful things to a company at times. When you've got that monopoly in life, it's very, very easy. You can get a bit lazy with things. Whereas when the guys next door are putting on shows and all of a sudden they're selling out and yours aren't, you have to go, holy shit, are we doing something wrong here? We need to step our fucking games up. And I think that's something that we'll see now over the next sort of certainly year to 18 months. We'll see WWE put a much better concerted effort in to take it over again and to rub our stamp on themselves as the leading the market leader in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, once we get Crown Jewel out of the way, it'll be interesting to see how the storylines evolve. Heading towards Survivor Series, and then obviously on towards the Rumble, and then we're in Mania season again.
Given the look of both rosters right now, what kind of give me a feud off either side that you'd absolutely love to see? One from Raw, one from SmackDown.
I think either Drew with Reigns or Drew with Lesnar.
Right.
And I think on the other side, I'd be excited about Balor with anyone is exciting, but I think Balor Edge would be very exciting. I think Balor Rollins to complete that circle would be very exciting. That full finished business. I think Balor AJ Styles will be absolutely electric. They're the kind of ones I'm looking at the moment. At which way they're going to go. The one thing you'll notice about it is at that level, at that main event level on both shows, not dissimilar to the women, you have a lot of different options at the moment, which is really, really cool.
I think on Raw, definitely. I think SmackDown, it's a lot less, as we said earlier. Like you've got Reigns, you've got Brock, you've got McIntyre. Like, after that, am I really going to believe Shinsuke Nakamura is going to take the belt off Brock? Not in a fucking month of Sundays, I mean. Do you know what I mean? Bogs or no bogs, guitar to the head or not. It's just not, it's not something I'm gonna go and that's plausible. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose you have to arrive at a point eventually where someone steps up eventually, don't they?
Well, listen,
even if you have to try it.
Looking at the roster, someone has to step up. Definitely. But I just don't know. Looking at it offhand, I'm like, who are we getting here? Yeah. Are they like? Are we gonna see Jeff Hardy in the title picture? At his kind of age, and with kind of how much he's done, I'd be shocked. But like, if you look outside of Drew, like, he's probably the biggest face they've got on SmackDown, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Like, and that's a bit scary.
I think what they could do is they could potentially put him into a title picture down the line, but I don't know whether they'd follow through on it.
No, well, I think it's a token gesture, isn't it? If you put him in.
Because they know him as well. I mean, as you said with merchandise sales, he's a big merch seller and he's a big fan favorite.
Absolutely.
And the risk is the bro is over with the enemy. So that could be the conversation that happens to, make you sign on again, maybe, or something like that. That we're going to put you in a title picture with a title run or something like that. And then what happens is you go down the road with it, and then they don't follow through on the title, or that title situation is short-lived. I mean, because the boys, as you said already, and we've said before, I mean, they don't really need a belt in the picture. The big boys can knock 6 shades of shite out of each other.
Yeah.
There doesn't necessarily need to be a belt in it. I mean, if Brock versus Reigns wasn't for the belt on Thursday night, would it matter to us? I wouldn't think so. We'd still
it's still probably main event, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's then, and if that was the case, are you looking at McIntyre with a belt? And if so, who comes up against McIntyre? I think SmackDown's they're gonna struggle for stars, man. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's something I don't know. Like, are they splitting the Usos? Is that where we're going? Is one of the Usos going to be a face? One of the Usos going to be a big heel?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think the Usos are their benchmark in terms of tag team wrestling. That's their goal.
I think they're the best tag team in the world. I think they have been for a number of years. We've spoken about that since the stuff they did with the New Day and that Uso Penitentiary and stuff. They've been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. They really, really have. The two boys, obviously, the boys need to stop getting behind the wheel of the car when they've pissed out our mallet, like, you know what I mean? But other than that, they're two absolute superstars. They really, really are. You're looking at them now, and with some of the big tag teams that we've had over the years, I think you could legitimately put the Usos' name up there with them, and people wouldn't have too much of an argument, which are Hardy Boys, which are Team 3D, which are Edge and Christian, which are Demolition, Legion of Doom, Rockers, stuff like that. Even guys maybe that didn't have belt, but just guys from the past that were great tag teams,
Yeah, we forget how long they've been there as well, don't we?
Been a long time, man. Yeah. Since they came out in those grass skirts with them, with those face paint and stuff like that, and
and even when one got injured, the other picks up the mantle and keeps it going and still represents
kept it going
in that way, So.
Really kept it going well. But and listen, that's a family thing though, isn't it? Because they've always been able to do that. Yeah. Really, really have. So much respect for the boys, and the family. It's been great watching them, I have to say.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to their Elite 90 series coming out soon. I think Jimmy comes first and Jay comes in the second one, because wasn't Jimmy injured, or wasn't Jay injured for a little while, or vice versa? Yeah. So they released one of them in the Elite 90, and I think the other one comes in 91 or 92, with a couple of nice little figures on the way for us as well, just in case you might like something like that,
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of nobody's bitches t-shirts on them as well. Have to get a few of them off eBay.
Have to get a few of them, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, this has been your Crown Jewel preview. Not for every wrestling fan's taste, but definitely a very solid card. Most of it anyway. Really looking forward to it on Thursday, and no doubt we'll drop our reaction before the weekend. This will set the pathway for SmackDown on Friday, Raw on Monday, and then a lot of things will be laid out as we head towards Survivor Series. Darren, pleasure as always.
You know, brother.
Let us know your comments down below in the episode. Drop a like, share, and all that good stuff on it. Hit us up on Twitter at @Podmen, and if you want to listen to the audio version show, we're on Spotify. Till next time,
if we've any Luchasaurus fans listening, you need to have a real look at yourself, lads. There's a bloke in a mask. He's a gimp, right? Just throwing it out there.
Till next time.
Take it easy, brother. Bye.